Did I say that out loud?
Welcome to Did I Say That Out Loud, a podcast where Stu Eddins and Mariah Tang reflect on agency life and answer questions from our higher ed and healthcare clients about the latest in digital marketing, content, and SEO.
Everything I'm reading right now is your website's dead, your blog's dead, your this, that, the other thing is dead, everything's dead. And this is the same conversation that happens literally every time something changes in search.
Yeah.
Like since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been doing this type of work for 12 years.
Mhm.
And I think I've had the same conversation at least every other year in that entire time. This time it's back to SEO. Like, what does SEO mean? How are we going to do this if there's no clicks? Blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, clicks are important, obviously, because that's how people are coming to your website or whatever. But that it's not, the click isn't everything. The click isn't everything. Like it's this whole narrative around your content, just like it always has been. It's just that now the click is de-emphasized.
Right.
And it's been going that way for several years, ever since social came up.
Look at me. I get to drag out statistics again.
Yippee.
Yay. Okay, so I read a study that was recently published. Spark Toro, Datos partnered up and did a study, what they call clickless or zero-click search. Now, this is not a new concept, as you just pointed out. I was able to find data up to 9 years ago. 9 years ago, the data points were suggesting 40% of all search back in that time was clickless. And this was a reaction to Google putting all sorts of stuff in the search results. The people also asked the featured snippets, the everything else. They were enriching a lot of the search results pages, and it was depriving websites of clicks from search results to their websites. Well, let's fast forward 9 years. And the most recent study suggests that 83% of all search is now clickless. Now, if when the study also cranked in AI presence, the number went to 92% clickless. So one thing to keep in mind is that appearing in a AI result from a search or from some sort of prompt or query is 9 times out of 10 not going to result in a visit to your website.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. So my mind kind of went to a different place, and I've started thinking, okay, people are still looking for information. That has never changed, and it won't. People want to understand something about this subject that's important to them at the moment. We've had a search model for over 20 years, and you've heard me say this before, and I'm quoting somebody else, so I forget who it was. The search engine today is simply pre-search. You type something in and it gives you 10 options, and you get to search those 10 options to find the answer you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're condensing that. There's now one answer with multiple citations. Now, to the point we're going to talk about today is how to be part of those citations. We're not going to really get into what that does for you,
Mm-hmm.
because that's still kind of undecided.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to decide it one case at a time. But I really think participating in that result that's going to get generated, that one answer result, has to be beneficial for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole point of what we've kind of learned the last week from the article that we read.
Yeah.
So yeah, the article is basically saying you want to get found in AI responses. Think about a blog.
Yep. It's another set of data that Neil Patel published, or he analyzed and talked about 500,000 search results from ChatGPT. That was the engine that he looked at. And the two top ranking sources for answers for those questions that ranked highest or that came up the most often or whatever were Wikipedia, followed by blogs.
Right.
So why is that? The same reason that we've been saying since the dawn of time is because it answers people's questions.
Right.
Blogs are answer machines. Wikipedia is an answer machine.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the correlation, he even drew a further correlation. If you really want to be found in search, structure your blogs like Wikipedia.
Yep.
Okay. That can be problematic for some if they have a particular voice they need to go with or something. But think about what Wikipedia does. It starts off with the the statement of what the topic is, and it starts getting into segmented and purposeful sections. If you look up a person, it's always the same thing. It's who they are today, their milieu, what they exist in, then their early life, then their early career, then their later career, and on and on and on. The structure is important, and I think that may be why AI cites it so often. It is structured information. It's right there.
It's constantly being refreshed.
Right.
And it's constantly being cited by, or it's citing other sources, interlinking in that
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for a dozen years or more, we've always told people that the one best place to develop SEO participation is in blog content.
Mm-hmm.
And today, when I go out and I start looking up things about how do I optimize for getting found in AI, what I'm finding is the exact same information I've always gotten, I've always received on SEO, but now they add for AI and SEO, do this.
Yep.
There are some things that are separate and unique to AI and getting found, but the foundation still appears to be good content, well reasoned, laid out in an understandable manner.
Yep. Yep. When I think about healthcare or higher ed, which are the two primary industries that we serve, I always think about it like this. People go to social to either stumble upon something because they're doom scrolling or to get an answer to a specific thing they're thinking about.
Yeah.
That's the same reason that people go to blog content. They have
Mhm.
a question. Blogs are built to answer questions. That's what they do, or tell stories. So like, I want to see a patient story about this strange disease that I have, or, unusual disease. I'm going to find that. I want to know what's the best way to treat a sunburn. Do I use aloe or what? There's a blog for that. I go to a web page when I'm ready to make a decision.
Right.
Or if I really need deep tactical information, like how many credit hours will this course provide me? You're not going to write a blog about that. That's going to be on a web page. So like thinking about the different reason for wanting that information, the intent,
Right.
and that's where you go to blog. And that's why blog equals SEO. It's the things that bring people to your site.
Yeah. And I would add that blogs equal SEO, but blogs equal credibility too.
Yeah.
And that's what the citation is doubling down on. Your credibility as an expert to answer that question. If all of search is already 80% clickless, you're already experiencing this. AI is going to compound it. It's going to go from 8 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 are clickless. But the benefit you've been enjoying for the past 90 years, as that clickless rate has doubled, I'm betting your organic traffic has gone up in the same time too.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that what's happened, and I have not dissected this as just a off the cuff analysis. Yes, there's more clickless search today than there ever was, and there will be more in the near future. But what's happened is the entire volume of what's being searched for has increased, and people are instead turning to these digital tools to ask questions that before they thought they couldn't phrase well, they couldn't summarize into a succinct 2 and 3 word query to enter into Google
Mm-hmm.
and get back an answer. They were vague. AI is inviting more of those conversations into the mix. That's where we're seeing the spike in just sheer search volume or information gathering volume online. But at the same time, I'm seeing this difference where everything is telling me that the number of clicks coming from search, coming from AI is decreasing, and yet our site organic traffic has been on the increase.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's in part because people are embracing content marketing. Finally, after all of these years,
Mhm.
they're understanding how all of the conversations around the brand affect the conversion to the brand. And I would say now with how Google, for example, has expanded to pull in content from social media, like videos, short videos, TikTok videos from all of these channels like YouTube, Instagram, most lately, TikTok, Snapchat, they're all bringing in all this content where all of these people are originating their queries, right?
Right.
Especially younger audiences. So they're starting there. They're perhaps stumbling upon it in Google as well. They're perhaps stumbling upon your brand elsewhere. And that all of those extra stories all around your brand are the things that are informing them. So if you're sharing those blogs out in a short video format, if you're sharing them out on social media, if you're sending them through email or text, those are still touch points that won't necessarily give you a click to your website, but it will give you that mind share for the prospective learner or patient or whomever. And they'll eventually, when they're ready to make that decision, come to you directly.
Right. And I agree with that assessment. I think the thing that may be scaring people off a little bit is a lot of this benefit is immeasurable. You just can't go out and say, we posted these 5 blog articles and our conversions or whatever our goals are increased 20%. We've enjoyed a direct line of connection between clicking an ad and getting a result for like 2 decades now. We've been able to say we did SEO work in this part of the website, and look what happened over time as the traffic has developed, as we've had happier clients, as we've had higher conversion rates. That's all well and fine for the model we have today. The next iteration of what we work in as website owners, as people with messages that we want to have found, as marketers helping promote those 2 things, it's not going to be the same thing. We don't know what it's going to be, but really, it's been that same situation forever.
Yeah.
We've never known what's going to come next.
Yeah.
Now there just happens to be a specific chunk of it, AI, whatever it is, large language models like ChatGPT or agentic AI, which is also coming, I understand, from ChatGPT here in a week or 2. But it feels like it's one more black box being added into the mix. We don't see it, and that's true.
Yeah.
So going back to being not measurable, what we have to do is start looking at the signals on our own site, not a direct link back, not something else. Are we seeing the stuff that we write about in our blogs and so on? We can get indications of traction in AI because some of it's going to come back to you directly from that AI experience, click back to your website. The citations it gives are clickable. Won't be anywhere near as much as what you get from either a paid ad or an organic search result, but it is measurable. But we need to look at it instead of a transactional, I did this online, I got that online, therefore I can make a correlation. We need to look at it as, are my organizational goals being met?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to see a swing back to like the old ways of marketing, the old school marketing. Instead of launching a campaign, we're directing a narrative.
Right.
So like I always go back to this example, like Heart Month in February, we got to do all the cardiology content, right? Well, instead, maybe we have a specific thing like bypass surgery.
Right.
We're going to write a blog about bypass surgery. We're going to write 3 sub blogs about this, about specific questions that people would have around the whole experience. We're going to do a video with a patient. We're going to do a video with a doctor. We're going to do a video with a nurse. We're going to have those long form videos broken down into smaller, shorter videos. We're going to release all of these pieces of content into this kind of narrative about this topic. And from there, we can see what action happens.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, let's launch these 5 ads and see how many clicks we get to our campaign landing page, which is still important and still has a role. But it's no longer, like you said, it's no longer that transactional opportunity. It's how does this fit in with what we're all talking about?
Yeah. There's another part of the transaction too. And let's talk about it from the point of view of the website owner. Up until now, the relationship with Google, Bing, Yahoo search engines has been transactional. Yes, you can scrape our content and use it for search results because in return, I'll get clicks that come back to my website and get traffic. The transaction is the search engine gets to use your content to create its results. And in return, it will send you traffic if, the consumer thinks that you're worth the click. That's going to go away. That's why we're seeing things like Cloudflare. Cloudflare has recently announced that they're blocking all AI learning crawlers. They'll have to pay if they want to participate.
Yeah.
We're seeing things like websites that block them too. The New York Times, I believe, was the most recent one, where they made a deal with Amazon to crawl their website. But it's been one-off deals like that. So the web really was free to begin with became more transactional, even though money may not have exchanged hands necessarily for those organic clicks or clickbacks from references and so on.
Mhm.
But now we may start seeing more monetization of access.
Yeah.
And if that happens, yeah, we get back cleaner data. We can see exactly, we made this deal, we got much more of whatever we wanted. But I also think that there's a part of this that can be easily overlooked. Today's state, the way things are set up, current state with Google search, you can open up Google Search Console and feel really, really good that last month we had 50 million impressions in organic search.
Mhm.
How many of those 50 million were relevant to you at all?
Mm-hmm.
The other part about that is those impressions may have been on page 42.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I think may happen, and I don't have anything to back this up other than some gut feeling, because these AI providers need to do something that makes them valuable. I think what this may do is eliminate all that noise of the page 42 impressions. It may cause us to focus in on the most movable audience in front of us,
Yeah.
the most impressible or influenceable audience in front of us.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that it's been easy to look and think in a very, very large footprint of geography, and our influence is far beyond our physicality than it ever was before. And that's nice, provided you're trying to sell something you can package up and ship.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, if it's not deliverable to my home, now let's also remember that healthcare is now deliverable to home, and so is education. Um, but a large part of the internet is e-commerce.
Mhm.
It is that I pay something, I get something, and the internet expanded the footprint of that. I had a retail store when the internet became a really big deal, and suddenly I was no longer selling within 25, 30 miles, a comfortable driving distance to my store. I was selling stuff from the Midwest to California regularly.
Mhm.
Now, that felt good. It was wonderful. It amounted to maybe 3% of my total sales.
Mhm.
And I wonder if currently our organic search presence and everything feels like that. It feels good to be seen all over the place, to have this tremendous amount of reach. We've never really been able to quantify that as being beneficial in a useful way. There are ways, brand lift studies, there's all sorts of ways to do that. But I can assure you that if you're not a national or statewide brand to begin with, the impact of all those thousands and millions of impressions is probably minimal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the same thing when I see these reports that come out, like the back to the everything is dead conversation.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know necessarily whether some of this data is B2C companies,
Right.
B2B companies, a combination of both. And so when you look at generally less transactional industries like higher ed, like healthcare,
Mhm.
makes you wonder, are people satisfied with that single answer, or are they ultimately deferring back to, well, I'm gonna scan through these citations, I'm gonna go to the groups that I know, I'm gonna go back to Google and say what other
Yeah.
options are out there if this answer is unsatisfactory. And my takeaway from that is, yes, they are, because Google search is not declining.
No.
Social search is growing. People are continuing to look for answers beyond the pale, you know?
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. We've always looked at what we do as lead generation. There was some transactional in healthcare where it was sign up, get a telehealth visit, make sure you have your insurance card so we can bill you. It's close to transactional. For a lot of our colleges, they may have had a certificate or something that was online that people could sign up for and pay for, like through a shopping cart right then and there. That's definitely part of it. But so much of what we do with lead generation is trying to get people who are ready to make a decision to decide on us.
Mm-hmm.
And that decision is simply a lead. They have not put any money in, there's no skin in the game. The objective of that is to get their name, phone number, address, contact them, have a conversation, persuade them if necessary to come to our school, to our hospital, to whatever it is. But it's never assumed to be a completely done deal from behavior online.
Mm-hmm.
And really what's happening and where AI is showing up most often in people's journey from discovering they have a problem to a solution for that problem, most of that's in the exploration and evaluation stage. They spend a lot of time asking questions, taking in the answers, shaping in the next question as they make their decision. The chart I use draws that as an infinity sign, a sideways 8, where they just keep looping back and forth. The next answer prompts the next question, and so on. At some point, they ask the final question. The last question they need to have an answer to is done. At that point, what tends to happen is they ask far more specific quantitative questions. What is best? Who is closest? What is the cost? They start asking those questions, and that's where we start getting into the more direct action behavior on the website. I believe if we do our job well in that kind of mid funnel, that evaluation and exploration stage, and if people are familiar enough with us from the citations, from whatever, that when it comes time to actually asking the questions that are important before a decision, I think we've increased brand recall. I think we've increased our perception, the perception of us being reliable. Now, how do you answer those questions? How do you get involved with that exploration? How do you in the evaluation part? Blogs.
Yep.
That's been the answer for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, some people are allergic to the term blog. Okay, call it news, call it public information, whatever you want.
Article, story.
Articles. But it is your way to find a topic and surround it completely with information.
Yeah.
So that there's multiple paths, because there's multiple ways to ask the question to arrive at the same endpoint. This is a classic setup for a blog.
Yeah.
Our topic is X. Now, here's all the ways people lead into talking about it. And if we don't talk to them there, somebody else is.
Yep.
That's the fear of loss for the website owner. If I'm not in this space, somebody else is. They're making the impression, they're gaining the attention, they're getting the reputation enhancement, and I'm down here waiting for them to ask the money question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that does work, so long as there's more people doing searches for that than there are providers for it.
Yeah.
But we're kind of running out of that math. It's just not working quite as well. It started ages ago when we looked at our websites and said, 3% of the people who come to my website convert. They give me what I want. And nobody worked to make that 3.5%. They just said, add more people. Let's take that 3% out and make it work for us. More. Now we're looking at years later. It's not really the case. We want to incrementally increase that 3%. But we got to get their attention first before we can do that. And the way we increase that percent is by being relevant and by getting quality people to show up. And quality people are found by connecting with us through all that other content that led to that final question.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't think I could, with a straight face, tell anybody the blog is required. I do think that I could say that a blog is probably one of the most helpful tools you can have for discovery.
Yep.
We have clients that do not have blogs on their websites, healthcare and higher ed, and they are doing a wonderful job. But I think the path forward to increasing it, to earning more of the diminishing attention, is to be talking to people before they make a decision. Get engaged with them so they think of you. Okay, how's that work with AI? I've written this wonderful blog. Now let's be real. You've written a wonderful blog. If I write it, you spent 3 hours editing it. You've written this wonderful blog. It goes up, it gets found, and let's say Perplexity comes along and says, "Wow, this is useful." It scrapes your content up. It doesn't use it directly. It combines it with 3 other articles, possibly, to come up with a 3 to 5 paragraph response. And there's a citation. What's that do for you? Well, perhaps what happens is, just like any other ad, that is a visual, getting seen more often is supplying the answer is where the connection is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will still click on those little symbols that say, oh, click this to open up the citation. Some people do that. But if 92% aren't, because that's the clickless rate of AI enhanced search, yeah, we've got to find a way to make sure our message is out there more often, so that should they search for what we've guided them to, we are the response to it.
Yeah.
And
it pulls generally the organization's name. So it's just like in my brain, it's like appearing in the blue links in Google. Like you may not be the one they click on, but they're going to scan through and say, oh, University of Iowa Hospital is right there, whatever, and move on with their day.
Yeah.
So someday when they're thinking down the line, boy, my dad is going to be getting this bypass surgery.
Right.
I remember I read a thing about that, and nobody says these words out loud, but it's the brain, registering. Why is that familiar to me? I should go look at them. And it's how brand marketing and storytelling has worked since the dawn of time.
Right. And that's the exposure part.
Yeah.
That's being exposed to a brand in context of what it does.
Yeah.
And that exposure develops over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's multiple, if not a full multitude of impressions that happen. We live in a town that has a community college. I've never gone there. I moved into town far older than I would want to go to community college. I was never there in their market. Yet I know a lot about them because they have a 4th of July celebration. They have festivals that go on. They have public events and education and lectures that go on.
And a beautiful website that Staymates did.
Oh, there
Kirkwood
you go.
Community College.
Yes. They have all these touch points, and I'm fully aware of them. That feeds into my exposure to their brand.
Right.
Now, as soon as somebody comes up to me and says, I need a community, I need to get a class in a business class. I'd like to graduate in 2 years. I pull together everything my exposures are. Kirkwood, University of Iowa, University of Nebraska, wherever I've been. Those are all my exposures.
Yeah.
And then what happens next is that exploration and evaluation stage starts weeding through these things. So yeah, AI search can help you start weeding through, and you're getting information, but the citations can help you say, okay, I've been aware of these people for a while, to I'm developing trust in these people, to I believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
And it may be gradual, and it may take months. It could be quick and happen in a day and a half. The other part about it is we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if this is going to change the complexion of the internet overnight.
Yeah.
If there's not the transaction of I'm allowing you to use my content in return for the potential of a click, if that's gone, we're seeing things like the nationally recognized newspapers putting themselves behind a paywall. We're seeing limitations on where information can be gathered.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes, if nothing else, it takes electricity. Somebody's got to pay the bill.
And one of the things that I'm challenged by with some of these platforms is that you're limited to a certain number of searches daily. Yeah. Whereas you could go out to Google and search till your freaking heart's content, right? But if you get ChatGPT or some of these other things, you get, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out, 10 searches, and then no more information for you. Right. It seems like a very kind of close off of information. It's not very equitable in my opinion.
Right.
But
here's the thing. The tools that do that were never search engines in the first place. Mm-hmm. They do not make their money off of search. Mm-hmm. So their challenge to the search engines that are out there, Bing, Google, Yahoo, and so on, the challenge that they're posing is they don't monetize through search, therefore they monetize through membership.
Yeah. And they monetize through scraping off the search engines. So you guys do the dirty work and we'll get paid.
Right. Oh yeah. ChatGPT is now it works both ways. ChatGPT is now assumed to be using Google's index, and Google, by the way, is now potentially surfacing ChatGPT prompts and answers as results in search.
Y'all made it public. That's what happens.
Yeah. So if I go out there and I say, what's the best retirement investment vehicle for somebody who's 63 years old? Yep. And I have the little box tick that says share the answer, share the response, or whatever the heck it is.
I'm going to send this to my wife.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then what happens is that comes up with a statement, and that is given permission to somebody like Google to crawl this and perhaps feature in the search. The next thing I say is, okay, my parents passed away and left me $156,000.32. What would you suggest I do with it? That is now part of what can be searchable and in the public record too.
Yep.
And now somebody knows that Stu has 150 some $1,000 that he's working with.
Yep. What are we doing after work, Stu? Going to Vegas.
McDonald's, it's on me. But that's the part about it.
Yeah.
There are going to be these reciprocal agreements, and Chat GPT and Google are not doing this for free.
Mhm.
So there's some reciprocal agreement out there. We're going to find a lot of strange bedfellows.
Mhm.
That's one, because Chat GPT has been largely funded by Microsoft and Bing.
Mhm.
For the longest time, I believe Chat GPT's crawling of the web was Bingbot doing the crawling,
Weird.
or at least powered by software that was the same as. It had to identify itself as Chat GPT bot, or it would be fraudulent. But yeah, we're seeing all sorts of partnerships dissolving and new ones being formed. So saying too much about AI in a definitive way is chancy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we're even wondering if there's be such a thing as a website in 5 years.
We've been saying that for 10 years.
I know. Yeah. But excuse me, a website as we know it.
Yeah.
Fully coded out so it looks pretty and responsive and so on. So, well, maybe the next thing is responsive only to your device.
Yeah.
It may be a screenless device, which means responsive means it reads it to you, as opposed to simply scaling down to fit your smartphone. Don't know. It's fun to speculate and cause worry and stuff like that.
Yeah, I need more gray hair.
Yeah. Well, what was it? I have something around here that says chaos, confusion, and dissent. My work here is done.
Something like that.
Yeah. But we're going to chop out that chunk and edit that. But at any rate, the things we do know is that blogs will really help your AI presence. Wow, did you notice how I brought blogs back in after about 5-10 minutes of not talking about them? That's why they pay me the big bucks.
It's Friday. Dudes.
But at any rate, all of this does tie back in really to content. No matter how you look at it, whether it's an AI chatbot or a search engine, Google or not, the commodity is content. They have to have it. Yeah, they can create their own, and one day they may create all of it. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is, right now, people have the need for information, and they need to have it organized and presented in a way that they can use it. We've had search engines for a long time. Now we're having chatbots, which is a technology that favors an answer, maybe a long one, but it's an answer. And along the way, people got a little ticked off about it and made them provide citations. I don't think that was ever their, hey, let's build something that has citations in it moment. I don't think that existed.
Right.
But yeah, I think we're coming up on a watershed. That's the right word, watershed? Really? Okay, we'll go with that. I think we're coming up on a turning point. How about that? That works too. Between where we've been and an unknown future, and that makes conversations like this, like I said, fun to have, a little scary. And 5 years from now, you look back and think, did I say that out loud? Got the title worked in too. Yeah, mic drop. But the things we do know, every time I look up how to get found in AI, even though the term AI and large language models are scattered throughout the description, every description reads SEO. Do it well. SEO is fed by static content and variable content. The static content is the description of your class, your procedure, your service, whatever it is. The variable content is like the blogs that talk about it in different ways to connect with different people at different moments. It's still the same. You've got to be able to make your content talk to people in a way that they understand it in their moment of need.
Mhm.
There's nothing really better that does content for that than blogs. I would stretch that to also say that some people are experimenting with a blog in the form of video.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be written content.
Yeah.
It could be a series of podcasts. It could be anything else. But the point is, it's not cut and dried informational about the service, product, class, or whatever the heck it is.
It's about the questions that people have and the answers to those questions.
There we go. And I think that's a great point to end this.
The watershed moment of our podcast.
No, I think we passed that some point about 10 minutes ago.
Thanks for listening to Did I Say That Out Loud with Stu Eddins and Mariah Tang. Check out the show notes for more information about today's episode. And if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, hit us up anytime at staymates.com.